Go, 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 redraw. There's the birthday. You didn't label it. There's the birthday. It's in the wrong tubes, and yo, there's no birthday. And you know we don't run no blood without a birthday. What's up, Z-Pack? It's Saturday. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna come clean right now. We are tired AF, and I'll tell you why. Why are we tired, Tom Heineber?
We let ourselves eat a bunch of carbs, and they were delicious.
They were adorable, those carbs. But see, Tom and I are typically low-carby types, and I'm sluggish AF right now. Because I had a chocolate beignet, I had hello rice, I ate some Thai food, and everything was breaded. I had fried avocados at this Thai restaurant. Fried avocados. They fried it in bread, and it was delicious. And I don't regret a minute of it, except for every minute I regret it because I'm sluggish. Now, Logan, on the other hand, has stuck to a low-carb regimen, and he is sharp as a tack.
Salad and grilled chicken.
Salad and grilled chicken.
And cocaine.
And cocaine, which is a hell of a drug, according to Charlie Murphy. So listen, guys, today we're just going to kind of keep it loose and casual. We're going to do an Ask Me Anything because we are in that kind of mindset right now. Tomorrow I'm going to be traveling to Washington, D.C. to speak at the American Ambulance Association's meeting. And so I'm going to get my EMS on, so we won't be able to do a Against Medical Advice tomorrow. So if you want to have it out with us, you need to have it out with us right now. It's probably worth summarizing what happened this week. We had hella discussions about violence against healthcare people, and there was another thing where a correctional inmate kidnapped a nursing assistant, a CNA, and a correctional officer, and this thing just keeps happening, and people keep staying silent, and so we have the hashtag #SilentNoMo, and the Facebook group, which is currently called Del Nor's Law, but will soon be called what, Tom? Is it going to be called?
I think they're voting on it right now, and it seems to be trending that Healthcare Workers Protection Act is going to be the new moniker this all happens under. So,
or HAPA!
And that's Angela Coco Paletto.
Yes, Coco
Palito?
Cocoa Butter?
Who's running that group. So
Yes.
You guys should head on over there if you want to be part of the movement.
That's right. We're not directly involved, but we're members of the group, and we're part of this movement, which is trying to give healthcare people a voice in the face of considerable threats to our well-being, our lives, and also our ability to be compassionate and not burn out. So all those things, hopefully, we can start to address through legislation and a common movement. I've gotten thousands. I answered 300 Facebook messages this morning, many of them with a thumbs up or if it's just a link shared with me, I just kind of scroll on because I've seen the link 100 times, but thank you for sending it. So let's read some comments. Liliana Cook says, Cocoa Puffs. I'm cuckoo for them.
No such thing as low carb in South Louisiana. That's because you all got that gumbo, that etouffee, that jambalaya. Dude, I'm so addicted to rice. I realize that all my favorite foods have rice in it.
Dude, rice, baby. Too cold, too cold. The thing about the Southern diet, and they call it the stroke belt for a reason, because people have strokes in the South at a higher rate than elsewhere. There's tons of coronary disease. My Uber driver in Louisiana is like, yeah, I had like 3 vessels bypass and this and that. I don't know what kind of accent I'm doing, but it is not a Cajun accent. And I said, well, what's your diet like? Well, I like to eat this and that and the other thing. And I'm like, okay, so what's the other thing? It's like, it's cornbread and this kind of fried thing and this kind of, so you got trans fats from some of the frying process, you got all the carbohydrates mixed with the saturated fats, and that's what seems to be causing the problem, at least in my opinion, my esteemed nutritional estimation. And as we know, nutrition is a cluster F of drama because nobody really knows what's going on. But I think part of it is, again, a very rich diet that also has a lot of carbohydrates. Hella strokes, people. Smoking doesn't help either.
Let's see. Dieter Farms wants to know, what about the keto diet? Dude, Z, I keep trying to do the keto diet. It seems to be impossible.
Listen, the thing about keto, man, is like, okay, if you're a kid with seizures, the keto diet may help. If you're an adult trying to lose weight rapidly, going into full ketosis, meaning 20 grams of carbohydrates or less for most people a day, will throw you into a state where you're just burning, beta hydroxybutyrate and these ketone bodies, which is fat, turned into these compounds that you can actually metabolize. I did it for 8 months. I lost a ton of weight. I got a 6-pack, which I've never had in my life and I've never had since. But the downside is it's impossible to live your damn life unless you're really, really disciplined. And it was hard for me to eat with my family. I was always looking at nutritional stuff. I was focused on it. It's a fun experiment. It's good to get the discipline of that. But things like intermittent fasting will get you 70% of the way. Just cutting out refined sugar and carbohydrates. Like we talked to Logan and we're like, Logan, look, if we're going to all work on our diets, the simplest thing for Logan to do is to stop drinking sugary drinks and look for sugar in shit that you don't know where it normally would be. So like milk is full of milk sugars, lactose, etc., galactose. And just doing that, like how do you feel now, Logan, like when you eat what you used to eat?
Like shit.
Feel like shit. So like when you detox off the Western high carb diet, and I'm not telling people like go to a keto thing, because that's hard as hell to do. But just like getting rid of the low-hanging fruit of carbohydrates, man, you feel a million times better. And that's why me and Tom feel like shit right now.
What did we do? We lectured Logan, and then we went to Austin, Texas, and there is just so much good food there. So we were having pizza, fried pickles, beer, wine.
Dude, you just shut the fuck up right now, because those fried pickles, I'm going to tell you guys, Austin, Texas. The first time I went to Austin, I had a great experience, but it wasn't transformative. The second time I went to Austin, we stayed downtown at the JW Marriott. It was a transformative experience. The people were amazing. The food was amazing. The fried pickles were the best thing that I have eaten probably in recent memory. They were it was at Second City or Second something cafe in downtown. You guys can fill me in on the full name of that thing.
Jennifer Fox says, I have a Z-Pack, not a six-pack.
Oh, hell yeah, Jennifer
straight
Fox.
girl.
Crazy like the fox.
Let's see. Shannon says, a topic I haven't seen yet on TribeTalk is legalization of medically assisted suicide. Can we talk about this topic? I would like a doc's opinion. We can talk about it right now because we're keeping this open-ended.
Yeah, this is open-ended. We're going to do a little mini talk on this. So legalization of what? Physician-assisted suicide. So here's my take on this, and this is my take, and I'm not a bioethicist, but I kind of use my common sense elephant.
How dare you?
I know. How dare I use common sense? It's not okay. All right, look, I think there is what we're dealing with here is the tension between individual autonomy and the right to control your life and your death, and the cohesion of social groups and professional ethics. So we take this little oath called the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm, and that can be interpreted many ways, but you cannot, part of that oath I think is you cannot administer a poison knowingly, and this comes from the Greek era, guys. So let's remember, we were talking about religion and the Bible the other day, and we were talking about how certain things that work in certain time periods may not be as applicable 2,000 years later. Well, this is one of those examples like, well, okay, were they thinking about assisted suicide in the future? Now, here's my own personal elephant take, and I think a lot of doctors feel this way, but they're a little nervous to talk about it publicly. A lot of times, we will help a patient with suffering by turning up a morphine drip, by allowing a patient's family some access to the PCA, by doing little things that are kind of cutting around and skirting around, but ultimately are causing a relief of pain and a relief of respiratory discomfort and a relief of agitation while hastening death. To me, that is not physician-assisted suicide. That is relief of suffering and palliative care at the end of life. And there are many palliative care docs who agree that this is something we can do, it's something within our power, and it's underused, and we drop the ball a lot of the times, and we don't have the conversations that lead us to do this stuff. It's very effective. Now what we're talking about is, well, actually giving patients, there's two sort of ways to do this. Actively euthanizing a patient, so a physician administering a lethal dose of something, or giving the patient the means through prescription, instructions, etc., to do it for themselves. I find this very difficult ethically myself because, again, like, how do you screen the patient? Like, are they really in a terminal situation? Are they just depressed? I think patients should have the right to end their own lives, but I think it's tough to ask physicians to do it unless they're really, really willing. Me, I'm not sure. Like, I've been in the position to actually accelerate death many times as a hospitalist through comfort care measures. Palliative care docs are in the same position, but those same palliative care docs are very reluctant to administer direct lethal doses at a patient's request. And we've talked a little bit about this before. What are your thoughts?
Have you seen Children of Men before? In Children of Men, it's a dystopian sci-fi movie where women can't have children anymore, so humanity is slowly dying off, and the governments are giving everybody these suicide kits, basically. And it seems like every time I think about that movie, and it makes me like,
I just, I haven't even seen the movie, but it makes my elephant very
suicide
nervous.
kit that the patient would self-administer. I'm okay with a doctor doing it in a hospital
See, it's
setting.
just weird because like I had to watch my grandma. She was in a coma, and so I had to watch her kind of die for like a couple months, and there's a point where we kind of, they stopped with the feeding tube and that stuff. It was like, I wish there was a way to end her life where she didn't have to starve to death.
Right.
Because it's hard to watch that for like, a week and a half.
Well, right. And honestly, there have been many cases where I felt like we really need to do something here. Like something needs to be done. But here's the thing, Logan, like I think within the parameters of providing comfort, we can do that without directly saying, here's a lethal push of potassium chloride or something.
Well, and this goes with Logan's story. I'll tell you, when my grandfather was in hospice care, he was in what seemed to be a considerable amount of pain, and the doctor had told me to administer. They gave us that liquid morphine stuff, and he told me to administer, however much it was. The nurse, the hospice nurse, pulled me aside and said, "Why don't you just, triple this up, quadruple this up?"
Yeah.
Because
yeah. And again, is that a compassionate thing to do? I would say it is.
It was. He was dead in 2 days after that.
Now,
I thought it was the right thing to do.
Right. Now, I think compelling physicians to do this is tricky, and then suing them for malpractice if they're not willing to do it is tricky. There's a lot of subtle ethics. My own thing as a hospitalist is I am all about comfort at the end of life, making sure we do it right. And palliative care docs are very, very good at this. Hospitalists are good at it too. Like I took pride on if my patient had even the slightest symptoms that concern the patient or the family at the end of life, I would provide the means for the patient or the nurse to allow titration. Now, here's where it's tricky, Tom, because a lot of times it's the nurse who's put in a tough position.
Yeah.
So the nurse is the one who's titrating a drip, and as docs sometimes will write, titrate to comfort with a big wink at the end. And you can feel the wink through the stupid electronic order that we're telling the nurse, use your discretion and do what you think is right. That's a huge responsibility. And if the nurse is very experienced, often they're fine with that responsibility. If they have ethical concerns or moral concerns about being the one to do that, then we have to be respectful of that. So I think this is a conversation we have to keep having. I think telling patients, no, we can't help you is stupid and heartless. I think there's a ground where we can do that. Now, I know a lot of people who are aggressive, like Hemlock Society aggressive. And it makes me uncomfortable. Like Kevorkian, the thing about Kevorkian is, he was right in that patients should have autonomy. He was wrong in that he was a fucking asshole. Like anyone who talked to him was like, the guy's a psycho, like he's really obsessed with death. And he's a pathologist. And so, there's a way to do this and there's a way to do this. But I think as a compassionate society, we're moving to that. The Netherlands is somewhere on an extreme where, people with depression and stuff are requesting lethal doses of stuff. So we have to find where is that balance.
You ever been on a suicide message board?
No, that's a thing?
They get together and they talk about the most effective ways to kill themselves, and a lot of what they come up with is usually hanging or these things called exit bags, which is a plastic bag you put your head in, and you go to a party supply store, get a tank of helium, and you basically, put the bag on, you put the helium in, and then you're inhaling nothing but helium, and they say you lose consciousness, and then you die afterwards. And that's supposed to be the most painless way to do it, according to these suicide groups.
Now, these are people who want to commit suicide to commit suicide. These aren't people at end of life or...
No, and a big problem with it is also that trolls will go on the boards, people that are actively looking to cause pain, and will goad people into killing themselves, people who may be on the fence. So this is happening online, because we're not able to regulate it in a proper, and this is a little different than the end-of-life conversation, but I would imagine if we could regulate it in a proper way in the hospital setting, we wouldn't have to do this online. People would be self-helping themselves.
I mean, I think that's a valid question. Now, one of the questions that came up here from Liliana Cook is, why are you on those boards, Tom? Like, what's going on?
I go into deep Google holes sometimes, you guys. Like, you ever looked up something and then you all of a sudden you're on like the list of the 10 most gruesome serial killers, and you just like freak yourself out and you're like, oh God, I'm gonna stay off the internet for a while.
Go watch ISIS videos.
None of this has ever happened to me, either of you, and you people are sick. How do you prevent lawsuits with family members who weren't ready to let go? Has this ever happened, and how successful were the cases? Shannon Ragsdale. Now, I don't know directly about cases, but this is always a concern in the back of every caregiver's mind is like, well, there's one family member or the patient who wants an expedited exit, and so we make them comfortable with higher doses of morphine than we would use if we wanted them to live a long life. However, we titrate the morphine to their comfort. So if they have if they have respirations that look like they're labored, if they're having some agitation, we can turn it up, we can add Ativan, we can add other mechanisms to try to sedate them. it's always a concern, and a lot of times families don't agree and they haven't had the conversation, and there's always conflict. And we know, man, that families are a mess a lot of the times, the best of days. You put them in the worst situation of their life, loved ones dying, patriarchs dying, matriarchs dying, it gets really, really ugly. Now that's why the palliative care people are the pros at this, and having a low threshold to actually consult them is actually a really good idea. What are you laughing at back there, Logan?
People are worried about Tom.
Well, Nicholas says, I've read some of those boards. There are people that talk pros and cons. You get the trolls that you mentioned. You get the Christians who preach. It's interesting to read if you want insight into what suicidal people think about. And that's kind of what I wanted, is just to know what they were thinking.
Tom is kind of a student of human nature, and will go into these holes and try to dig up what he can learn. And, you know, I think one of the things about you, Tom, is going to film school, you kind of view the world through a little bit of a cinematic prism. It's all about human behavior and emotion and motivation and that kind of thing. So I'm speculating that's why you dig around those kind of places.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably. I'm just curious.
Curious, yeah. Bi-curious?
Yeah.
Because if you are, we did share a room.
It's Pride Week, y'all.
We literally treat our animals better than our humans. It's humane to put pets down, but it's murder assisting someone who's brain dead, Melissa Mosey. I mean, this has been an argument that many people make. Now, one of the interesting things is veterinary medicine doctors and the techs have a hugely high rate of suicide and stress and burnout. And some of that may be from difficulties with the pet owners. And the idea of being able to euthanize a pet is a good thing, but it's also a very big responsibility. So I would love to hear from vets. What do they think about the process of euthanizing animals and how it might pertain to end of life and assisted suicide in human populations? Because I know we have a lot of veterinary medicine people who are fans of the show. By the way, Tom, are we or are we not becoming dangerously famous?
You are.
I think the show and all this crap, like we were in Austin, I got recognized 3 or 4 times in the Austin airport by random people, once in the Vegas airport by a CNA, and then somebody actually sat next to me on the plane who was a doctor who recognized me, sat in the middle seat just to sit next to me, didn't say anything for like the first half an hour of the flight, and then as I was getting ready to put headphones in, was like, can I just ask you one thing? How much did it cost to fix all the plumbing in your house? And I was like, you know about the plumbing, and oh my gosh, you know who I am. And
Dude.
And it turned out he's the coolest guy in the world.
The Z-Pack is everywhere,
They're
dude.
everywhere.
And it makes me actually nervous because me and Z will be walking down the streets in public just being like, fuck this, fuck that, fuck this thing in particular. And then I'm always like, there's probably a Z-Packer right around here.
It's true. We kind of, like I go out in public and I always dress like shit and I look like crap. And now I'm starting to think, because I'll run into someone and then I have to do a selfie with them and I'm wearing a nobody fucks with the Jesus t-shirt. And I'm like, I don't think they're going to get the Big Lebowski reference. They're just going to think I'm a 2-bit ass clown, and I don't want that in my life.
Leslie, real quick, Leslie says, I personally am not down with euthanizing pets. I have mixed feelings. And this goes into another comment that said that we treat pets better than we treat humans in our society.
Right.
What are your thoughts on euthanizing pets?
I mean,
right?
I mean, I don't.
I love me some puppy murder.
I'll tell you, there was a point when I wanted to euthanize my cat, and there was nothing wrong with her. I just hated that damn cat, right?
Oh, dude, my dog woke us up the other night. And my wife was like, take him to the vet, have him put down. And I was like, she's on the night shift. I was like, sweetie, you're a little sleep deprived. You're gonna get over this.
Right.
I'm not gonna murder this dog, okay?
Right.
And now she's like, I'm so sorry. I can't believe I said that. I would never kill this dog. He's so sweet.
Speaking of dogs and cats, what was that thing you saw the other day where they were talking about the guy's talking about his dog and then he's talking about the cat?
Oh, it's like when people talk about their dogs, they'd be like, hey, this is Bartholomew. He's half pointer, half German Shepherd. His ancestors basically won World War II. And then it's like people that talk about their cats are just like, hey, this is a Nacho. He's a fucking asshole.
How true is that, man? Straight out and forward is my motto, says April Trost. I don't want to see anyone or any animal suffer needlessly, Jennifer Norman. Yes. I agree with that. I think we should be aggressive in providing comfort. That doesn't always mean providing death. It may mean really, really, really aggressively taking away pain. And if that expedites death, so be it. If you can take away pain without expediting death and someone can live have a decent level of comfort, then that's what we should aim for. I don't think the default should be to put people down.
I can imagine that you've seen a lot of people die in person.
Yeah.
What's your typical elephant reaction when that happens?
So are you asking someone dying unexpectedly in front of me or someone dying...
When you know it's going to happen
Yeah.
and you're just watching it happen, what does it make you feel?
When I have someone who's like at the end of their life and we're doing a comfort care thing and I'm there when they die, the way that I feel about it is this was supposed to happen. This is how it should happen. They're comfortable, and I actually feel more a sense of peace and that an outcome that was appropriate was achieved than I do, when we run a code and someone comes back and they're on a ventilator forever. So in a way, because we know what the other outcomes are, suffering, permanent disability, I find that it's actually a very peaceful outcome. Now, and Tom, I've seen people die in front of me that we weren't expecting it, but they're DNR. I think I might have told this story, but there was probably she was like in her 80s, very high functioning, wealthy lady, very nice lady, was back at Stanford, and she's sitting in her chair talking to me in the morning. I was rounding. She came in for a minor pneumonia. We were about to discharge her. And I'm sitting there talking to her. I've got my intern with me, and I'm the attending, and I'm sitting there talking to her, and she goes, "Oh," suddenly she goes, I don't feel very well." Her eyes roll up, flutter a bit, and she's unconscious. I go to feel for a pulse. She's not on a monitor. She's on a non-tele floor. I feel for a pulse, and there's no pulse there. Now, the night before, when we admitted her OBS for her pneumonia, OBS means just a 24-hour admit, I have a heart-to-heart with every single patient that comes in my hospital, and I talk to them about code status, and I say, look, the hospital's a crazy place, but even if it wasn't, if something were to happen, your heart were to stop, you were to be unable to breathe, do you want us to come rushing in and do all the very aggressive stuff, the CPR, the electric shocks, the medicines, where you could wake up fine or you could wake up on a ventilator, and it depends. And with you, I'm going to be honest. If you were my mom, I would worry that you might wake up on a ventilator and it would be very difficult. And I have this very important heart-to-heart. Now, this woman unequivocally told me, I don't want any of that done. If that happens, it's my time, you let me go. Make me comfortable, let me go, tell my family, call my primary, please, because we're very close. So now, I witness a cardiac arrest in front of me. She has no family, by the way. Her nearest family is a son who's across the country in New Jersey somewhere. So this happens in front of me. I'm standing there with the intern. The intern has his finger on the code button. What do? She's dying in front of us, right? Her wishes were very clear. If I push the code button, we come running in and we do a bunch of stuff to her that might well bring her back, because I've witnessed her cardiac arrest. Like, we could technically defibrillate her. It could have been a PE, it could have been an MI, it could have been an electrolyte imbalance. All the labs were normal in the morning. So something has happened that's catastrophic. What do? I looked at the intern, he looked at me, and I said, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tell the nurse we are not going to call a code. I'm going to run to that phone and I'm going to call the son. And I called the son, and I got him on the phone in just a minute. Remember, this woman is dying. She's already anoxic, pulse nothing, 0. The son says, if that was her wishes, and he's emotional, if that were her wishes, then let's respect them. And we made her, there was nothing to make comfortable. She was unconscious. She died. And I struggled. I called the primary doc. The primary doc got emotional because this was a relationship they had forever, and asked me, why didn't you run a code? And I said, because she told me very specifically, please don't do that. And the son confirmed that if that were her wishes, that's what they want. Now, could you imagine if it had gone some other way where the son disagreed and the primary disagreed, but the patient still told us this? I think we still have to, we have to respect our patient's wishes. So that was one of the most difficult things I ever had to do, and I still kind of, ethically, I did the right thing. Morally, did I do the right thing? I think so, but I don't know.
Well, my perspective on this is my wife, who used to be a charge nurse in the ER, has told me multiple times that DNRs are meaningless. That they will be ignored because they're not going to be known about.
Yeah, that's the
it's
thing.
Too late.
A DNR doesn't mean shit if you're If the doctor, the EMS, these guys don't know about it, if it isn't, somewhere easily accessible, if it isn't available, if the people that are taking care of you don't know you. Sandra says that story brought tears to my eyes. And I'm not going to lie, Sandra, like I'm talking about it in a very detached way now. I mean, as detached as I can be without, feeling what it felt like at the time. But even at the time, I was a newish attending, probably 3 years into my career. My intern, think how that intern felt. Now, that intern was a male intern. I'm trying to remember who it was. But they were really upset by the whole thing because they felt like they were in a decision point that was life and death. And they chose death.
Look, Shannon has an interesting question here. She says, how do you know that they are indeed comfortable despite rest, death, rate, quality, as well as bodily actions? We can't tell what the patient is feeling inside if they are sedated on morphine. Mm-hmm. Are there any other ways of noticing comfort that are more definitive if the patient is sedated? This is something I think about a lot because I have done high-dose opiates because Tom likes to party, you guys. And I can get a dysphoria from them. Which is not a pleasant feeling at all. Mm-hmm. So if somebody was pumping me full of morphine right at the end of my life, I don't think I'd necessarily enjoy that.
Well, let's think about this for a second and unpack it a bit, because I think that many people who work in ICU have seen the post-traumatic stress disorder that can result from being discharged from an ICU, post-ICU syndrome, right? And the question is, some of that relates to what Tom's saying. We medicate the hell out of people, and then sometimes we over and under medicate them. They can have huge dysphoric reactions and not be able to tell us anything. Now, there are some objective signs. We can look at heart rate, we can look at signs of respiratory rate, we can look at agitation, we can look at other things. But sometimes none of those things are shown. Like imagine being paralyzed with paralytics but not sedated. That's a great example of you can be suffering the worst kind of torment known to mankind and be unable, and this happens, unable to do anything or show any external signs, except for maybe a heart rate might come up. And even there are medications that will depress that, or underlying illnesses that will depress that. So how do we know? Well, we can't know, but we try our best. And there are a lot of oblique ways we can kind of get a sense. Now with this woman, it was very clear, for example, that she was entirely unresponsive, unconscious. Doesn't know what her awareness is, but all objective signs were that she was not getting blood to the brain and was therefore unconscious. But it is hard. It is hard, and we have to think about these things, especially in surgical scenarios where people have partial awakening and those kind of things. You don't know that they're having it until afterwards and they report it to you. Yeah. Consciousness is a subjective experience that has to be reported. We talked a bit about it yesterday.
Everybody's like, Tom parties by getting drunk and going through suicide boards. You all search weird stuff on the internet, and you know you do. Mm-hmm. Don't you blame me. Don't you put this on me, Z-Pack.
I personally like people who dress up as stuffed animals and have sex with each other. What? Was this on, Tom? I thought we'd hit stop. What about using...
It's called being a furry, and it's a valid lifestyle choice.
No judgment, people. No judgment. Kelly, okay, let's see here. As an intern, especially in internal medicine, I had a patient go into cardiac arrest 10 minutes after having an EKG done on him. While me still in the room and no DNR in sight. One of the most traumatic moments that year, Melva Gorion. Yeah, it's really, really hard. And the first death I ever dealt with was as a medical student. It was a third year, and it was an elderly gentleman who came with a pneumonia. It's always fucking pneumonia, right? It's always pneumonia. They call it the old person's friend because that's how you go out. But you never know it. Like this lady that coded in front of me, pneumonia. This guy, pneumonia, comes in with an uncomplicated pneumonia. In the middle of the night, he codes. I went home as a medical student because I got 1 hour of sleep and I had to write a note and do all this. My intern pages me, your patient is coding. I run in to find him dead, that they'd called the code. And that was and I remember they wanted me to fill out the death paperwork and call the time of death and talk to the family, and I'm a medical student. UCSF, man, it was a trial by fire. But the thing that, none of it settled in for me until I sat in the room with the patient in their bed because we were waiting for the family to come and see him before we took him to the morgue. And I'm sitting there it's just me and the patient with this kind of harsh fluorescent light overhead. And I'll never forget this. I mean, the bedspread's like up to here. And you just see this face like this, the face that you were just talking to, like you took a history from. And you're all excited because you're a medical student. And the chest isn't rising. and there's no motion in the face. So do you know what my brain did? It invented those things. I saw the chest rising and falling, and I saw facial movement, and I felt life in this lifeless body because my brain couldn't wrap itself. I had never seen or experienced death in that way. And it's just, it's one of those trials that you go through when you're in healthcare. And it's a gift. It's a gift to be able to be with people at the end of their life. It really is. But it is never easy to do. And it's something that everybody encounters differently.
Let's go a little lighter with this question. Colleen wants to know, what is the weirdest home care remedy that a patient has used?
Oh, man. Dude.
You ever get anything just super weird? Just like...
Dude, there's shit that
Yeah,
just
bro, I
will
totally I bathe in essential oils.
It'll chill your bones, man.
Really?
I mean, like, stuff you're just like...
Like, what kind of stuff?
Well, I can't even remember, but they would, people would put stuff on wounds that was like, dirt mixed with freaking pubic hair, and there's some like old wives' tale. I can't even remember a specific because I probably blocked it out. So people they do crazy shit. Now some old wives' tales are have some kernel of truth to them.
I heard about one that was like, how it's Hispanic people put Vicks Vapor Rub on everything?
Yeah.
Somebody said their mom would put it in their soup. She'd dissolve it in the soup and make them drink the Vicks Vapor Rub.
There's part of me that really wants to try that shit because it sounds dope, man. Think of your breath. It'd be so vapory. It'd be like the halls of mentholyptus. YouTube is a dark but lovely place and such a helper to that Lunesta. Rachel Hignite. It is.
Michael says one woman put potatoes on her kid's burn.
Oh, yeah.
Potatoes.
That actually sounds vaguely soothing. Cut a fresh potato and put it on a burn. Please don't do that, people. Because you're going to end up with like some potato fungus infection.
Dude, Chris wants to know
if
your parents minded you marrying a non-Indian.
This is a great question. Which Chris?
Chris Bungo.
Okay. Chris, this is a valid question because you know how immigrant parents are. You don't marry one of your kind, your shit is out. And my religion, you got to understand this. I'm not religious, but my parents come from this religious background. They are actually religious. They're Zoroastrians. Zoroastrianism is an ancient Persian religion, one of the earliest religions that was monotheistic. A lot of Judeo-Christian ideas actually co-arose from this sort of idea. So the way our religion works is if you marry out, you are out of the religion. You are no longer a Zoroastrian. And so, I told my parents I'm gonna marry this Chinese girl. And they were like, but we could set you up with a nice Zoroastrian girl and we could arrange a thing and it would be awesome. And I'm like, but she's a doctor. Like, okay, it's cool. It's cool. She's a doctor. That's cool. And wait, she's Chinese? That's even cooler. Just don't marry any white people because lazy. They didn't say that. I'm saying that. I'm not even saying that. So the idea that then they accept, and now we're all a very tight family. Her parents actually, they were more concerned that we don't live together before marriage than they were that I wasn't Chinese. Because her sister had already broken that taboo by marrying a white dude who is, you guys have met, ID Dog, James Riddle. And so that marriage, my wife's sister married Jamie Riddle, and who is not Lord Voldemort, by the way.
That's Tom Riddle.
That's Tom Riddle. And so that was all cool. So anyways, that's a little personal history.
Tracy says, my husband and I were at the vet today deciding quality of life for my 16-year-old cat. I did not do well. My loyal, faithful friend in a sterile room of death? Nope. She will die here at home on her terms and her time. 12 years ago, I put down my dog of 16 years. The look he gave me, haunting. Never again.
Yeah, this is Sanchez. He's a fucking asshole.
Bro, your cat was old as fuck, right?
My cat was old as fuck. And that cat, can I vent for a second, Z-Pack? And Mrs. Dog, if she hears this, she won't care because I've told her this. And she knows that cat, it was basically that cat versus me. When I met Mrs. Dog in '99 as interns at Stanford, all right, she had this cat that was about 8 months old. So the cat fucking predated me, all right? She loved the cat. Didn't love me at first. Thought I was a dick. Next. The cat lived in her place. I lived in my place. We ended up moving in together into my place. She wanted to bring the cat. I said, oh, hell no. I made up shit. I'm allergic to cats. But your mom says you have hella cats. That's bullshit. It kept going. And then finally the cat, I go to Hawaii for a month to do a rotation, internal medicine. I worked in a clinic. I come back, there's a motherfucking cat in my house. And this cat gives me a look when I arrive in my own condo. This cat gives me a look like, bitch, what are you doing in my place? And I was like, I will cut a motherfucker right now if that cat steps to me. And you know what? The cat stepped to me. And we had a head-to-head for about 10 years. It was like, I don't know if you've ever seen the cover of this horrible movie called Enemy Mine. It's like one of those things you see in the old Blockbuster. Like it's an alien face and a human face, and they're head-to-head. Enemy Mine.
No one's ever seen that movie, Z.
Not a single person. I haven't seen it either. I just saw the cover. That's what it was like with that cat. And I swore one day I would euthanize that cat and I would put it to death because I hated it so much. But then something happened, and I came to Vegas. We brought the cat. I started meditating. I started respecting all conscious life. I realized this cat was meant to be with us, and I love the cat. Now, when the cat died, I was away on a trip doing a talk, and my wife texted me and said, Kitty died. And I can't lie to you, I was a little broken up for a second. Do not fucking tell my wife that, because I will never live it down. But I'm telling you, Z-Pack, I was broken up that the cat died. I was sad that I missed being there when the cat died, and they buried the cat and they had a ceremony, and my daughter pulled out the bagpipes and was like, I mean, the whole thing. So anyways, that's my cat story.
Fuck cats.
By the way, yeah, fuck all cats.
Let's see. Gabe says, I'm going to be a med student in the fall. I always thought my Spanish-speaking background would make me better suited for a primary care profession, but I still want to go in with an open mind specialty-wise. What do you think?
Well, what I think is Mark O'Connell says Enemy Mine was one of my favorite movies with Dennis Quaid and Louis Gossett Jr. So screw you, Tom. People have seen that movie.
Okay, Mark, you're borderline insane. And that's all I'm going to say.
Lou Gossett Jr. Okay, what was the question? It was about
Am I
I am
supposed to be
and
impressed
special.
by Lou Gossett Jr.?
Yeah, you are.
Haven't
you seen Iron Eagle?
What
What was the question again? It was about internal medicine and specializing something?
The question was, Gabe says he's going to be a med student in the fall. He's a Spanish speaker. He wants to know, he thinks primary care is the right fit for him, but he wants to keep an open mind specialty-wise.
Yeah.
And what are your opinions?
Yeah, my opinion is don't have any prejudgments. Go into your career and then feel it out when you do your rotations, and you'll find what your fit is. I knew from rotations, that's really what convinced me what I was going to do, because I wanted to love radiology. I wanted to love ophthalmology. I wanted to love GI. I hated all that fucking shit. Hated it. It was so aggressively boring to me. I wanted to love surgery, and I actually did love surgery, but I found I didn't have the spatial reasoning skills to really be a great surgeon. And I thought, if I'm going to do surgery, I have to be great, and I don't have the capability. I wouldn't do my patients justice. So I said, okay, and then emergency medicine, I wasn't extreme enough. Like, everybody was like, yeah, bro, I go on the wilderness medicine thing in Chile, and we go whitewater rafting, and I'm like, do not put me anywhere fucking near whitewater, because I will cry like a little child. So internal medicine it was. So you have to really you have to feel it out.
Laura says, what's up with the F word? It's fucking dope, Laura. That's what's up.
It's fucking TribeTalk. So TribeTalk is our way of just letting off steam. We curse. We don't share it with our kids. The regular one that doesn't say TribeTalk explicit, that's for everybody, and you can kind of more freely kind of share that.
Speaking of which, Samantha says, stop the fuck cats comments. No, Samantha.
Fuck cats.
Fuck cats.
See?
This is Nacho. He's a fucking asshole.
This is a dog pound right here, girl.
This is a dog pound. I actually don't mind cats. I just think
terrible.
I just think they don't have a limbic system that properly shows emotion. I think they're just little selfish assholes. That's the problem.
Does your
with
cat lick you when you poop? Because my dog does.
I threw up and swallowed it, and it was seamless. It was seamless. You know who licks me when I poop? My rabbit. That rabbit loves to lick. That rabbit is more emotional than any cat I've ever owned.
Andrew says, do you think respiratory therapy is on the chopping block?
No, why would it be? You guys are fucking essential. Why would you be on the chopping block?
I don't know. Has there been any discussion about this?
Who would replace you? I don't understand. Nurses can't do your job. We can't do your job. You can do your job. RT is essential as fuck. AF. AFib.
Kelly says, my cat with uncontrolled diabetes is offended.
Okay, first of all, what's her name? Kelly?
Kelly.
Kelly, if you even
that's
give
funny.
that cat an insulin shot, I will come over there and find you, okay? Because that is just not okay. People put their cats on dialysis. It's
Really?
crazy.
Listen.
But actually, it's a loved member of your family.
The one good thing about the cat thing is this is how we know the Earth's not flat, people. Because if the Earth was flat, Cats would have already knocked all the shit off of it.
That is so catist. Here's the thing. If we put up a meme of a cat's paw missing a couple toes and said, for that uncontrolled diabetic cat in your life, okay, the shitstorm that would result would eclipse anything we've ever encountered, Tom Heineberg.
Susan Robinson says, my cat is butthurt and she has claws.
Oh, snap. I love your cat. I do. I love all cats. I love all the cats. Make a meme, Logan. I love all the cats. I hate cats.
I take my dog to the kill shelter so she knows how good she has it.
The what? Say that again?
I take my dog to the kill shelter so she knows how good she has it.
That's incredible emotional torture. Logan. Here you go, dog. Now, there's a couple of rules. You don't shit on my floor. You don't piss here. You don't wake me up. You don't whine. Or this. Euthanasia.
I want to talk about this. Jan says, did you see that article about Delnor's Law that quoted you?
The one in Medscape.
Yes.
Yes. So this is interesting. So I come home from Austin and my wife comes up to me and she's like, so you spoke to Medscape? And I'm like, why would I speak to those bitches? And she was like, no, I didn't say that. I like Medscape. They're actually kind of cool. She said, because you're quoted all over this article. And I'm like, I am? So she pulls it up and I read it and I'm like, oh my God, I am cited like a news source by Medscape. And they talk about Delnor's Law and they talk about my discussion with the Delnor nurse and all of that. And I said, this is a great role for this show, is to bring to light the voices in healthcare that are otherwise voiceless. And if a big organization like Medscape takes it and projects it to the world of actual, reputable medical people, which I think is horseshit, because we are reputable, Z-Pack, we are the reputable medical people because we're actually doing the frontline shit, then that's fantastic. So I was actually rather moved by that. And I hope it does her some good,
Carrie Bennett says, free CEUs. Everybody wants CEUs from this, or CMAs, and we want to provide that to you guys, but it takes a lot of our time.
Yeah, you got to understand it's a pain in the ass. And the thing is, in order to do CEUs, CME, that kind of thing, we've done it before, we've done it twice. We have to prep, we have to send an outline, we have to get the organization that partners with us to set it up. It takes a couple days in advance. So that means that Tom's like, hey, there's something going on in the news right now, let's do it. We can't, because we wouldn't be able to get CEU for it. So my feeling is, I don't know if it's worth all the aggravation. Let us know if we're wrong. If you really want CEU for this, it's about a unit of CEU for every hour we go. That's the other thing, is then we have to go for an hour to make it worth your while, and that's a long-ass show. I mean, we're going long now, but we're just talking shit.
Alexis says, are we making Delnor's Law happen? Is there a petition for me to sign yet? What can I do to back this? You can go to the Delnor's Law Facebook group, ask to join, and become part of the movement around that. And I think they're changing the name to the Healthcare Workers Protection Act. At least that seems to be the direction the group is heading in.
Yeah, absolutely. And Medscape, people are saying Medscape gives free CEUs, so that's good. I'm glad they're doing that. I actually did an interview with Medscape with Eric Topol, who's the managing editor of Medscape, or was, and that was a fun experience. It's there on Medscape's site as well. As much torture as telling my dogma, we are going to change my mind. Okay, that's the most confusing line I've ever read, Florian Hinterberger.
What about, what do you think about LPN2s? I am one, 26 years. Is there a difference between LPN1s, LPN2s?
I am in the dark about the difference because I don't know that space as well as I should, so I'm sorry. Someone else can answer.
If you want to educate us, Lainey.
Yeah, educate us. Pat Baldwin says you're bad AF. Bad AFib?
Wendy says you can't drop F-bombs when presenting CEs. Fuck that shit!
See, that's the other thing. They fucking won't let us curse when we do CEs. And the other thing is we can't have sponsors. So if we have a show sponsor, then we can't do CEU because it has to be non-commercial, which is fine, but fuck CEUs then, because we need to support Tom and Logan because they're broke, and we also need to pay for all this equipment. We need to pay for our studio that we just signed a lease for, and that cost a shit ton of money. And we went to, what did we do right before the show, Tom? Tell these guys.
We went to Living Spaces, which is so nice. It's like a really fancy
IKEA.
It's like a fancy IKEA, or like a mass market Pottery Barn. I really enjoyed it, you guys.
Like a Scandinavian Designs, and we're like, this set is gonna have a really cool chair like that. It's gonna have a Scandinavian feel. I'm gonna get a smoking jacket, and there's gonna be hella F-bombs dropped.
And so we're basically looking at new furniture for the set and doing a redesign of the set because we're feeling like this set's a little whack because I built it and it sucks.
But anytime I say that, I'm like, Tom, you built this set and it sucks. He goes, how dare you? I put my heart into this set, Z-Dog. And also I made the edges purposefully wanky and janky because I don't give a fuck. And that's what separates me from some other so-called professional set designers. I was just mentioning about Medscape. Okay, let me not read that. Let's see. How can I purchase a t-shirt? Kathy Purvis. Motherfuckers! Not you, Kathy. I had a shop for months with t-shirts. Nobody buys shit.
It's not your fault though, because all those t-shirts suck.
They pretty much suck. No, they were dope as fuck. They said Health 3.0 and Z-Dog MD. What else do you want?
Great material, crappy design.
That's true. You know why? I designed them. I shouldn't do that.
So we're gonna get some actually like cool t-shirts.
You shut up, Tom Heinemer. Look what I just got. Apple Store, good news. I just got this text. It's fresh off the thing. Your order, W602, etc., has shipped and will deliver by June 13th. June 13th, I'm going to have a new iPad Pro 10.5 inch. Y'all can suck it, because that is a choice piece of gear. I'm going to use it to actually read comments on the show. That's why I got it. That's why I'm telling y'all. And also, I'm bragging, because I got a new iPad, and you didn't. Tell me, anyone get a new iPad? Let me know about it. I want to know about it.
Tammy says, I bought a shirt. And Christian says, they weren't dope. Sorry. Damn straight, Christian, they weren't.
I thought the shirts were dope as fuck.
All right, and with that, y'all, we're out. And this is the end of the show.
The shirts were dope. See you next time. Go. I might.